My name is Jeff Morgan. I am from Dallas, Texas. I want to start a brief series on child support. Child support is a big deal here in Texas. Texas actually is number one, the leading state of the entire country as far as collecting child support. If you talk to the Attorney General of the state of Texas, you talk to the people in his office, I mean, they'll tell you they do a really good job. Do you know that almost 62% of the Office of the Attorney General actually does nothing but collect child support? It's the child support division. I've always wondered, why is the Office of the Attorney General called the Office of the Attorney General? It should be called the Office of Child Support Collection or something along those lines, because over 60% of the people that work for the Office of the Attorney General specialize in child support. So, you know, when you talk to most people, they say, well, if somebody gets pregnant, you need to make sure that you collect child support. Get some child support money going here. These are common thoughts. Prior to actually studying some of these issues, I held some of the same thoughts. I have to confess that. It wasn't until I started getting involved with some of the things regarding the reformation of family law and the corruption that is in our Texas Family Code, the corruption that's in the child support collection system, the corruption that's in our courtrooms that take place on a daily basis throughout the state of Texas, that I started to learn about some of these things. And I will also say from the very beginning, I've never had to pay child support. I don't know really anything from an experiential level, but I've heard the stories. I've talked with other people, both from men and women, that have had to pay child support. And it is a racket, in my opinion. So the first thing is, you know, people think, well, we need to have some child support. Like somehow the best thing you can do for a child is to pay child support. You have to give money to help support that child. And what they have done when they talk about child support, they talk about money instead of a person. The best type of child support out there is for a child to be reared in a two-parent family with his or her own natural mother and father. That is the best child support. If anybody wants to contest that, feel free. But we have to come to some conclusion about what is in the best interest of the child. This nebulous term, the best interest of the child, that nobody even knows what it means. I have said repeatedly over the last 8 to 10 years, the best interest of the child is to be reared in an intact family with his or her natural mother and father, period. It's interesting because even the communists realized that. When there was a time after Lenin came to power and then Stalin came, and they started to realize, you know what, nobody loves a child more than the natural mother and father. CPS does not love the child more than the natural mother and father. The courts do not love the child more than the natural mother and father. We realized that no government entity, no government agency will love a child more than the natural mother and father. As a general rule, there are exceptions. And what's happening in the state of Texas, the state of Texas, as I mentioned, is number one throughout the entire country in child support collection. It has been a championship title that we have held for, I believe it's close to 15 years now. And we hold up this title, we're number one. We're number one. And what I believe is that the metrics being used to measure what child support is doing would actually, if we look behind some of this stuff, we might say we are last. We are last. Because child support is the product, it's an innovation due to a failed society. Child support is being collected when divorce is easy. Child support is being collected when one parent is many times kicked out of a child's life. Child support is being collected when two people have sex and one person decides not to get married, or maybe they just have a random sexual adventure and neither one of them intended to get married, but the child becomes conceived. So we have all of these things that are anti-moral, anti-values, anti-marriage, and anti-family. And then we say, but we have child support, and we're number one in collecting child support. We do a really good job of it, and the Office of the Attorney General, the Attorney General himself, has bragged about this issue, that we're really good at this. And our efficiencies are tremendous. We have our efficiencies, and they keep on increasing and increasing and increasing. Nobody collects child support like the state of Texas. But we have not looked at the metrics themselves, and I believe that if we looked underneath the metrics, what you would find is that we are leading the nation as a failed state as far as protecting families, protecting children, and protecting grandchildren and extended families as well. So child support, again, is done in situations where there is a broken family. So right off the bat, if you have child support, there is either a broken family or a never formed family. That does not benefit society. Society is benefited by strong, intact families with a good mother and a good father, or even just a fit mother and a fit father. They don't have to be the greatest. A mother and a father who love their children, who are together working for their children, is much better than a child being reared in a single parent household. In almost every instance. Again, there may be some exceptions. But what Texas does, they allow no-fault divorce. No-fault divorce. Divorce on demand. Divorce for any reason, for no reason. You can make up a reason. You can lie about it. You cannot stop a divorce. There's no defense against divorce. Once somebody files a divorce, it is a done deal. There's a predetermined outcome. Now, attorneys will charge you a boatload of fees because attorneys realize, hey, this is something I can get into. I can always act like the hero. I can charge a ton of money, $300, $400, $500, $600, $700 an hour, and I'm fighting for the parents. But I've never told them, especially if you're responding to this, you'll never win. You can't win. I'm going to put motions forward. I'm going to be driving up my bills, but I'm going to act like I'm working for you, and you're going to be saying, oh, my attorney was fighting for me. It's a predetermined outcome, and it's a predetermined outcome that is in the worst interest of the children in almost every situation. So, but what you'll also have too is that, in our Texas Family Code, other places, they talk about child support guidelines. There's certain formula that we need to make sure that a parent pays in order to support his child. So, I guess what it means, and they won't talk about this, but if you make less money, if maybe you're making $50,000 a year, because that's what your annual salary is, you pay this amount. But if you make $500,000 a year, you may pay this amount. And they want to increase that more and more and more. So what they're saying is that a child from a lower income family can subsist on a lot less than a child from a higher income family. Somehow there is a correlation here that what's good for the child, what the child needs, is dependent upon how much the father or the mother makes. The parent that's kicked out of the child's life or becomes a visitor in many instances. The way that our system also works is that in many instances, there is a custodial parent and a non-custodial parent. The custodial parent is the one who also gets the money. Give me the money. And it's well known that there are women that go out there and they try to find a rich person to sleep with and hopefully get pregnant by that guy so that they can collect money. There was one lady out in Fort Worth that I heard about several years ago, and they were trying to figure out who's the father, who's the daddy, who's the baby daddy. So she named father number one. Father number one made a lot of money. Father number one, there was no match, so he was not the father. Then this father number two, he made a lot of money, but maybe not quite as much as number one. Finally, after 10 people, they found out who the father was, and he did not make all that much money. Dang! What was I doing? What was I thinking? I could have been on easy street had I gotten pregnant with father number one. Instead, I got pregnant with father number 10. So I'm not going to have an easy street. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. But again, Texas incentivizes this. Texas says that if you make more money, your child needs more money, and child support becomes lifestyle support for the mom in many, many instances. In addition to that, there are a lot of men who say, well, listen, why am I paying child support? I don't want to be paying any child support. I want to be a father to my child. I will take the child. I will provide for the child. I will make sure all of these needs are met. And I've met some outstanding dads who are going well above and beyond, and yet the courts are saying, well, we need you to pay this amount. And again, it becomes lifestyle support to the mom. The mom needs to have all of this extra money so that she can be at home and she can do her thing or whatever. Maybe she needs to have a hairdo. Maybe she needs to have her nails. And again, I'm not talking about every mom, and I'm not talking about the great moms that are out there. There are good moms that are out there that have been abandoned and are struggling. There are great dads out there that have been abandoned and are struggling. So it goes both ways here. What is happening is, in many instances right now, is that somebody is paying child support and they're being kicked out of a child's life. And the parent would say, I'd love to be in my child's life. I want to be involved in my child's life. But the state says, you know what? It's better for you to pay a child management fee to have somebody else be involved in the child's life. There are people that the fathers are basically excluded from their children's lives, and stepdaddies become the de facto daddy. And as we know, this again is another thing that people don't talk about, but it's true that it's much better, statistically speaking, for a child to be with his or her father than with his or her stepfather. A stepfather or a fiance, in many instances, creates danger for the child. And yet the state of Texas says, we don't care because there's money being exchanged. And remember, the state of Texas gets a cut when this money is being exchanged. But again, the issue about the child management fees, we should not be paying child management fees. Child support sounds like it's a noble idea. When you're talking about making a parent a visitor and having somebody and making that parent pay to manage the child, that is abhorrent. Most people would object to that, and yet that is exactly what is happening here in the state of Texas. We do have child management fees. A good father or a good mother is being kicked out of a child's life and has to pay child management fees instead to the other spouse. And let me just go a little bit further into this because I'm aware of one case right down here. We have a legislator. Her name is Anna Maria Ramos. She's a representative. Anna Maria Ramos and her husband, they were going to get divorced, and then they did. And anyway, while she was married to her husband, and they're still married, by the way, right now, her husband decided to walk out and comfort somebody else who was going through a divorce, got the mother pregnant. And basically, she was a great mom, and yet somehow now the corrupt judges and these anti-family courts have given the child to the father, and Anna Maria Ramos tells the child who loves his mother, Anna Maria Ramos says, Mama's here. She's taking over the place of the very good mother. Mama's here. And if you're in the Texas legislature, you should be investigating this, and she should be thrown out on her ass. That's just the way that it is with her. It's corrupt what she's doing. She's basically participating in the kidnapping of a child. She's used her position as representative. She's used her position as a family law attorney to come in there and to act and to influence the judges. But nobody has disputed that the mom is a good mom, and the mom cannot be involved with a child. In many instances, without Anna Maria Ramos sticking her pug in the video camera or coaching the relationship between this lady and her son and saying, well, Mama's here. Mama will take care of it. Anna Maria Ramos is despicable in what she's doing here, and her husband as well for letting it to take place. But anyway, I don't know if this lady has to pay child management fees or not, but we have to be honest about what's taking place here. Child support is the whitewash term for child management fees. There are many good women, good men, good mothers, good fathers that are paying child support, that are paying child management service fees when they would be doing the job themselves. If they did not want to do the job, and if they said, look, I can't do this, I don't want to be involved in my children's life, I will pay a child manager to take my place, that's fine. The state is forcing people to pay child management fees in order to keep the cycle going, in order that the state of Texas can brag about how great they are collecting child support, get money from the federal government, and destroy families. So, child support, child management fees, which one is it really? Child support sounds so good, so noble. Child management fees, you're like, why did he abandon the child? The state of Texas is causing the abandonment of one parent from the parent-child relationship more than anything that I know. And our judges and the corrupt attorneys and the legislators, by the way, you legislators, you are not off the hook on this. You have created these laws that the judges and the attorneys are exploiting and taking advantage of. You are responsible for this. And just like retroactive child support from conception is a horrible proposed law that's coming up, some of the laws you have in place right now are simply atrocious. You have no idea what you're doing. You have taken the advice of divorce attorneys, or you've taken the advice of lobbyists like Steve and Amy Breslin for divorce attorneys, for the Texas Anti-Family Law Foundation, and you think you're so educated. You are creating the trauma. And some of you people that have been creating and passing these laws, what's going to have to happen, I think, you're going to have to experience it yourself. Maybe not you personally, but your kids. You're going to have to experience it through your kids. That the laws that you have created, they're going to have to live under. Unless you're going to be like the new Anna Maria Ramos, who's going to go in and influence cases and end up kidnapping kids for yourselves. Anyway, child support services versus child management fees. Let's be honest, they are child management fees that are being extorted from people. Child support, the best child support is for both parents to be actively involved in a child's life. It's actually not a 50-50 relationship. I would say it's more like 60-60, 70-70. The best for the child is when you have both parents, mother and father, together in an intact marital relationship, 100-100, providing for their children in that manner. Anything less than that is less than the best interest of the child, and yet this is what the state of Texas is incentivizing and codifying, so that our families are being destroyed and broken by our legislature, by dirty attorneys, and by corrupt and sometimes incompetent judges. Thank you.